What's up guys, welcome back to my show Anime Crossover. I'm back with a new episode of Naruto was the King of Saiyans Part 8, and if you did enjoy the video, give this a like and bring you my show and like more content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover fictions. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 36. Krillin appeared worried as he prepared to fight. He then took his regular stance, ready to strike. Krillin would sneakily take a few bashful looks at Lazuli every now and again. "Well, what have you got in store for me?" Cero asked, raising an eyebrow. Krillin took a long breath to relax and thought to himself, "I can do this. Since then, I've grown a lot stronger. This Cero man is only another challenge on your way to becoming the strongest, Krillin." Krillin charged up and exclaimed, "Kaio-Zenken Times 150. Ki erupted from the young monk's body, creating a vivid orange glow that blasted into the air. As he noticed the relaxing and regulated orange glow, Naruto whistled. As Krillin took a deep breath, the variation of Kaio-Ken around him shrank to a paper-thin aura. Even Goku had to nod his head and look impressed. He actually managed to tame that crazy technique. Gohan exclaimed in amazement. The last time they saw Krillin display the technique, they could see he was far from mastering it. This strategy, according to Krillin, is akin to trying to corral a wild stallion the size of a planet. They could tell he was telling the truth because of his regular spontaneous outbursts of ki, which finally damaged his body. Krillin, on the other hand, never gave up, especially after Lazuli began to join him in his training. Every time he bled and pushed through the pain, Naruto grew to admire him even more. Krillin was actually his initial favorite character when he lived in his world. Naruto had always admired the young, unheralded hero. His mere existence rescued the entire Dragon Ball series from cancellation. There would be no Dragon Ball Z, GT, Super, or movies if Krillin did not exist. Nonetheless, Krillin was usually on the receiving end of the bad writing. Despite how much he's matured, fighting Android 18 is still the highlight of the young martial artist's life. There was no superhuman or god form, therefore, they couldn't keep up with the Saiyans. Sure, Dragon Ball Super gave everyone general powers, but there was no substance to them, no way for them to stand alongside Goku as equals again. That's what everyone wanted to see, or at least what he wanted to see. Krillin rescues the series once more. Instead, we have Krillin, who is able to face Goku as a Super Saiyan God Blue. How? Nobody is aware. Naruto wanted to see the explosion of all the Z fighters' potential and powers right now. Despite the fact that Vegeta became his favorite character, he never forgot how much promise the remaining combatants had. How the writers had missed the other Z fighters' potential. But now things were different. Naruto was in the Dragon Ball domain, where anything could happen. Not to mention, if all else fails, Naruto isn't beyond using dragons to grant humans the same way of transformation as the Saiyans. Incredible, you're only human, yet your power has breached into the realm of gods, Krillin said to an impressed Cero. You haven't seen anything yet, Krillin said with a smile. As his aura soared into the sky, Krillin began shouting. As Krillin let go, one of the Moxibustion burns began to glow. Kaio-Zenken Times 400, he exclaimed, his eyes narrowing. Krillin's aura turned from dark orange to a bright sun orange tint by stacking his Kaio-Zenken with his regular Zen state of mind. Not only did the aura resemble the aura of a Super Saiyan, but it also had the same strength as a standard Super Saiyan 3. I can't stay in this state for long. So, I'll launch my strike quickly, Krillin warned before raising his fists in the air. In reaction to Krillin's immobile stance, he concentrated all of his might into the palms of his hands. Cero shook his head, perplexed. When a giant shadow began to appear overhead, his eyes widened in dread. Cero couldn't feel it, and he couldn't detect it either. Krillin had kept a unique and lethal technique from the android. A giant spinning disc eclipsed the entire world over Cero's head. As it began to blot out the light, Krillin concentrated all of his ki into a single strike, relieving the strain on the Kaio-Zenken. The Bald One wasn't joking when he released a Kaio-Zenken Times 1000 and sent all of the energy into the supermassive Destructo disc. This is going to hurt a lot, Krillin said, with just enough energy left to control the onslaught. If you die, I swear I'll resurrect you using the Dragon Balls. Cero shivered and gulped. I'm glad your cells are running through my veins, Earth's mightiest human. Ah, shucks, you're going to make me feel guilty about unleashing this attack on you, Krillin replied, blushing slightly. Do not be alarmed, Krillin. I am one of the few beings capable of surviving this. However, I can easily avoid this attack, so please do not hold back on my account. Cero fired back. Krillin is amazing. Naruto surprised everyone by complimenting Krillin. He was able to develop a technique that gives him complete control over increasing his strength. What did you discover at the Orion Temple? Naruto replied with a ponderous face. According to Goku, yeah, it is as powerful as our mastered Super Saiyan 3 forms, but he has to expel all that ki instead of putting it to good use. What's genuinely impressive, isn't that? Can you sense his attack, Goku? Naruto indicated the disc in the sky. Goku tried hard, but no matter how hard he tried, he failed to sense Krillin's ki. Not only has he hidden his ki, but he has also used up all his strength to avoid exploding from the Kaio-Zenken's backlash, Naruto smirked. If Krillin tried to compel the energy to stay inside his body, then… Well, Kakarot, you know better than I do. Man, that's crazy, Goku exclaimed, his eyes widening. One slip, and kaboom, it's all over, there will be no more bodies. The technique is that dangerous? Widened Lazuli's eyes. Naruto gave a wry smile. If I had to put it into simpler terms, then I would say that it's similar to walking on a very thin and eroded wire over a volcano. Oh, and that volcano is in the middle of exploding. That's a simpler term. Lapis whistled. My little man is braver than I imagined. Don't call him that, Lazuli said with a frown. Ah, man, Lapis froze. You actually fell for him? Did you, sis? Lazuli glared at him angrily and said, shut it. Sheesh, touchy, her brother said, sending shivers down his spine. Super Destructo Disc, Krillin yelled as he threw his hand down at Cero. Cero flew up towards the attack, hoping to smash it before it struck him. However, as the android approached the disc, Krillin said, swarm. The massive Destructo Disc shattered into millions of tiny, jagged bits that rushed at Cero like a tidal wave. Cero moved from relaxed to terrified in an instant. In reaction to the approaching threat, the android instantly deployed his most tenacious shield before strengthening it numerous times. Igus. Cero yelled as his body was engulfed by a dense sphere of Devil God Chi and Saiyan God Ki. Cero halted for a second, bracing himself for oncoming danger, and wondered whether this was it for him. Cero's entire form was overrun and entirely obscured from view as he was swallowed by a maelstrom of razor-sharp whirling Ki-Scs. All that could be seen was a swarm of gleaming, revolving ki discs that resembled a swarm of moving insects. From afar, Krillin's strike appeared to be a crescent-shaped wave ripping a path through the entire planet. Krillin's ki was so acute that Goku's mouth dropped. He shivered as he imagined what it might do to him in Cero's place. Everyone felt the earth shake beneath them as they witnessed the ground lift up and form new half-smooth-cut mountains as a gigantic fissure cracked over the planet's surface. Everyone felt like they were sinking, while the other half felt like they were soaring. Everyone observed Krillin had severed Mars too at that instant. It only took a few minutes for the planet to restore itself, with a little more material and some varied scenery. I don't think I could take that attack at all, Naruto smirked. Its sharpness, as well as the fact that I can't see it coming, far exceeds what I imagined Krillin was capable of. Do you think Cero is dead? Lazuli inquired. No, I can sense his ki, so I know he's still alive, but he must be hurting, went the reply. Krillin witnessed Cero's most formidable barriers effectively ripped to bits as the smoke and dust dispersed. It was studded with enormous gashes and holes. Cero's physical condition was comparable to that of his Igus maneuver. He appeared to have been placed inside a blender and forced to go through a couple dozen rotations. Lacerations and deep grooves were sliced into his flesh, his neck hung by a thread, and other body parts were missing. A continual stream of blood spilled out of the android's body, making all the Z-fighters gulp in horror as they looked at Krillin. To break the tension, Naruto coughed, ahem. If it hadn't been Cero, the culprit would have been disqualified immediately. In response to Naruto's announcement, Cero coughed up blood. He then looked across to Krillin, a strong sense of horror carved into his being. Cero screamed in pain as he regrew his lost limbs and healed the damage to his body, not wasting any more time. Cero's influence, however, had taken a significant and abrupt drop. Krillin frowned and declared, I lose. Cero was panting and looking at him as if he were a monster. Krillin lacked the raw power and body of a Saiyan, so he had to rely on his wits and invent new ways to keep up with their incredible advancement. Well done, said Naruto, clapping his hands, excellent work. Everyone else began to applaud. Krillin blushed as he pulled out a senzu bean and ate it to regain his vigor. Thanks, guys, that was awesome. As he flew over to his best friend, Goku yelled. That technique was crazy cool, Uncle Krillin. As they ran up to him, the two Saiyan children chuckled. "I never knew Ki could become so sharp." As he joined the gathering, Gohan said. "Very good, Krillin." Tane simply nodded. Krillin relished the fact that Lazuli occasionally glanced at him. When he noticed her blushing, he did a mental fist pump. "You're up, runt," Naruto said to Gohan. "Thank you, Naruto," Gohan muttered, rolling his eyes. "Wait a minute," Goku said, placing his palm on his chin as if he were thinking of something important. "Cero, eat this," Goku yelled as he reached for something in his pocket. "You're running on fumes," Goku said as he tossed Cero a senzu bean. Cero swiftly reached out his hand and grabbed the bean. He looked at it for a few seconds before sniffing it. Tossing the thing into his mouth, he thanked Goku and began chewing it. Cero was fascinated by the senzu bean's supposed healing properties. The healing powers of the bean took him by surprise as they spread throughout his entire body. The android's wounds healed instantaneously, and his body swelled for a split second. Cero's base form's power increased dramatically once he healed, as everyone who could sense him noticed. Cero's ego also skyrocketed as a result. The circumstances rubbed Gohan's fur the wrong way when he saw the android's expression of complete confidence. "Underestimate me because I'm a kid, and you'll die," he said as he stared at Cero and gripped his fists. Gohan evolved into a true Super Saiyan God, Blue. His energy poured from his body, becoming a gigantic pillar of God Ki that reached into space. "Wow, Gohan sure has been training hard," Goku said as he sensed his own son's ki. "His ki is amazing." "And he still hasn't tapped into his true potential," Naruto replied, nodding his head. Cero appeared surprised by Gohan and said, "I'm impressed. This will be a good fight. Come, Gohan, demonstrate the power of a true Super Saiyan God to me." Gohan vanished from Cero's sight in a blaze of lightning speed. Cero raised his arm to defend as swiftly as he could. Gohan feinted and stopped his spin in the middle of it, whirling the opposite way and landing a direct spinning heel kick to the android's face. Cero growled as he smashed into the ground, scattering enormous bits of soil in all directions. Cero shot out of the crater, arms pitched back, at Gohan. As the two began to exchange hundreds of punches and kicks, countless shockwaves flashed across the Martian sky, blinking in and out of view. Cero fell back from one of Gohan's kicks as the android aimed his index finger at him and gathered an enormous quantity of energy within his hands. Cero began ejecting hundreds of death beams towards his target with perfect precision. Gohan flew through the death beam barrage, flickering in and out of sight as he evaded every laser that came his way. He then breached Cero's defenses and began exchanging punches once more. Cero hit Gohan in the face, only to have him doge past it by the skin on his cheek. The Teen Saiyan then punched out, striking him on the bottom of the chin. Gohan's fist unleashed a huge shockwave that shook the entire cosmos. Gohan pursued Cero and smacked him in the stomach with a falling double stomp kick to the gut. "I warned you not to underestimate me," Gohan muttered as his boots dug into Cero's stomach. Cero's eyes widened as he coughed up blood from his mouth. Gohan was thrown to the ground when his foot pressed on his stomach. Cero regained his balance and looked down to assess the damage. When Gohan suddenly materialized in front of him, he said, "Bad move." Gohan launched a barrage of punches and kicks at Cero. Thousands of strikes smashed into the android, causing huge sonic explosions each time he struck. Cero's body began to take on the impression of Gohan's fists after a few seconds. His skin was damaged in multiple places, and he was bleeding freely from numerous wounds. Gohan, on the other hand, paid no attention to the android and continued at full speed. Cero was still holding back some of his strength, and Gohan, as a full-blooded Saiyan, wanted to bring it out of him. Cero deployed his Aegis barrier to force Gohan to retreat. The android recovered fast thanks to his regeneration and felt his strength bolstered by another Zenkai. Cero sprinted towards Gohan, memorizing his opponent's technique and motions, and began to exchange punches once more. As they exchanged punches, the two became blurs, each attempt thwarted by a block as they circled each other in the air. Cero thought he'd leveled the playing field, but it wasn't enough. As he fought, Gohan's power grew. Every time he fired a punch, the Teen Saiyan tapped into more and more of his untapped ability. S-cells raced into Gohan's bloodstream, pushing his abilities to unprecedented heights. Cero, a pure-hearted Saiyan born from two pure-hearted Saiyans, had a staggering edge over the others. He continued to push his body to the brink and withdraw with his Aegis to recover damage. He was gradually trying to wear down Gohan. All the while, he grows stronger. That was Cero's strategy. However, it appeared that the opposite was occurring. The longer the struggle went on, it appeared Cero was losing. The android could barely keep up with Gohan's growing power, but the flip side of his regeneration was that he lost a lot of stamina from the continuous regenerations. Cero then relaxed his body, lowered his defenses, and smirked as he prepared for Gohan's severe beating. Gohan was aware of his plans, but he would not pass up such an opportunity. Gohan finished Cero off with a spinning heel kick to the back of his head after breaking what appeared to be every bone in his body. Cero's neck nearly shattered as Gohan's foot crashed into the back of his skull. Multiple sonic booms were heard trailing behind the android's tumbling body as he smashed into the ground. The force of Cero's impact forced the land to upheave, resulting in a single, gigantic earthquake with fractures visible from the depths of space. Gohan smirked as he witnessed Cero's complete defeat. His body appeared handicapped, with fractured bones, limbs bent at unusual angles, and blood covering 70% of his body. "Done playing?" Gohan remarked as he landed close to him. "Show me what you've been keeping hidden." Cero coughed up blood and tried to chuckle, but all that came out was more blood. "I'll show you." Cero scarcely spoke as he gestured with his only healthy hand. Cero's energy flowed to his fingertip as he made an unusual hand gesture. A beam shaped like a little sphere of ki and magic burst out of his finger, aiming towards a blade of grass. "Create." As the blade of grass changed into a sensu bean, Cero coughed up more blood. Gohan and the others were stunned as it lingered over his mouth before falling in. He ate the bean and recovered to full strength. As he straightened up and murmured, "Ah, much better," the android's devil god chi and Saiyan god ki shot through the ceiling. "What woman?" Bulma asks, tapping Naruto on the arm. "I'm trying to have fun with the fight." "Don't you? What woman am I?" Slapped Bulma on the back of the head. "I'm curious why Cero hasn't been disqualified for using a senzu bean." Cero overheard their chat and smiled, "But it was created using my technique. Consider it like me consuming my own ki and magic." "Yep, that's how it is." Naruto nodded. "How was he able to do that?" Bulma stamped her foot on the ground. "Are you certain he didn't just teleport in a senzu bean?" "Thanks to Gete's improvements," the android said with a smile. "I chip, and my entire body can function as a computer. Goku, I ate the senzu bean you gave me earlier." Everyone looked at him, giving him the upper hand over Gohan. Cero went on to explain, "The bean become a component of my biomass. I can duplicate anything I touch or come into contact with by merging Namekian creation magic with a piece of my god ki. I can also, say, reconstruct myself." Creation. Cero pointed to the ground next to him and fired another beam. "However, it requires an appropriate volume of matter, energy, and stamina in exchange for what I'm creating." Another Cero arrived next to his own body, an exact replica of himself, complete with his current power level. The Z-fighters trembled. "I'm glad you convinced him to be on our side," Krillin remarked, shaking his head. "I didn't know he could do this," Bulma said, nodding her head. Cero then laughed and made another senzu bean, saying, "It's quite taxing on the body, and creating something like myself takes almost all of my energy. But now that I can make senzu beans." Cero ate another, regained his vitality, and declared, "I can do this forever. I can make anything or anyone I want. I have the option of choosing any species, even the sex and look." Cero fired another creation beam. This time, a female android appeared from the earth, with long green hair and a lovely pink complexion. She was of the same species as Cero, yet she had nothing in common with him. "I could start my own race through natural procreation or through creation magic. I can even fuse with copies of myself." Cero employed the Namekian absorption method on his duplicate's chest to more than treble his own power. "I could use this over and over again until my power knows no end. However, getting stronger this way irks me. Maybe that comes from the Saiyan genetics within me." Cero's tremendous power suddenly overtook Gohan's. Even Naruto was terrified by the power of creation in front of him. "Perhaps an entirely new species will be living in the system now," Naruto murmured. "Okay then, Cero, let's continue." Gohan said it with a smile and a Kaio-Zenken Times 2. "One moment, I must name my mate. Do you have a good one in mind?" Cero smirked back. "I don't know. I'm not good at naming things." Gohan blushed as he looked over to the other female version of his kind. Okay, then, from now on, you shall be known as STEM. No, what about the name you gave me, cell, and number?" "Neuron 1. Are they like muscle cells? How about Neuro, for short, with your last name as a number?" "Neuroichi." Gohan raised his finger. Cero grinned and said, I like that idea, Neuro. Go wait with the others. As she flew over to the rest of the group, Neuro nodded and said, yes, my mate. Naruto allowed her over the barrier, still perplexed by the idea of creating your own partner. Bulma shook her head, thinking to herself, imagine that, an android species. As they faced each other, Gohan gave Cero an angry gaze. The android then smirked before taking his stance and asking, so, shall we proceed now? Gohan charged Cero and attacked him without hesitation. Cero replied as their fists collided, I'll take that as a yes. The world began to rock back and forth once more. Their strikes had become so similar that they were canceling each other out. They kept disappearing and reappearing, only to fight each other. When they collided, the ground shook like a wave, and the air cracked like glass. Gohan was beginning to fall behind. Cero managed to strike a good punch to Gohan's chest, which sapped his vitality. The teen Saiyan god was thrown through the world and out the other side. Gohan, on the other hand, recovered fast, shooting back through the planet with a Kaio-Zenken time of 20. Cero's eyes widened as the blazing red and blue boy smacked him in the chest and launched him into the high atmosphere. Cero exhaled a sigh of relief as he forced himself to come to a complete stop. That was almost a ring out, Cero thought as he tried to locate his opponent. Gohan, on the other hand, appeared from behind and kicked Cero back down to the ground and through the ground. Cero wondered as he tunneled through the planet's stone, lava, and core, did he just hold a grudge? He smashed through Mars's opposite side. He smashed through the other side of Mars, scattering debris into the atmosphere as Gohan reappeared behind him. Gohan continued to backflip and kick Cero's spine through the planet while smiling. Yep, he held a grudge. Cero's musings were interrupted when Gohan began playing ping-pong with his body, kicking him back and forth across the planet for numerous repetitions. Cero finally managed to seize Gohan's hand as they returned to where they had first fought before laying into him with a powerful and lethal flurry of strikes. He started with a couple hundred punches to the gut, then a sidekick to the ribs, and finally a diagonal front flip kick to the side of Gohan's neck. Gohan crashed into the ground, causing mountains of rubble to rise. As the smoke cleared, Gohan appeared on a large slab of ground, resting down on his back with his martial GI ripped to shreds and his body covered in wounds, sweat, and blood. Gohan took a deep breath as he noticed his family's expressions of excitement and concern. Gohan abruptly snapped. He didn't want to see that expression. He preferred it when his father looked at him with pride in his eyes. No, I won't let him down. Purple lightning flashed up his spine. I don't want to lose, not with him watching. Gohan's power was increasing. Above their heads, storm clouds gathered. Cero paused his onslaught to gaze over at Gohan, who was growing stronger. I want to be strong. I want to defeat my dad. Gohan yelled as a purple bolt of lightning struck him. The light shone across the landscape, piercing the dense clouds that were blocking the sun as the beams descended. They revealed Teen Gohan, a true Super Saiyan God Purple. Cero trembled as Gohan's might pushed him back. Incredible, absolutely amazing. Cero reflected as he struggled to maintain his position. Gohan's hair had changed to that of a Super Saiyan 2, but his body was still that of a Super Saiyan 4, although with purple fur. He'd done it. He'd unlocked the form that his father and Naruto had just recently accessed. Gohan shook the entire earth with his voice as he cried, I did it, feeling like he had caught up with his father. Cero was ready to congratulate Gohan when he realized it was too late. Gohan's drive for combat had increased, and he was tuning out everything else. To put his might to the test, Gohan materialized beside Cero and beat him down so rapidly that the android missed every strike. Gohan came over him and trod on his hands as he slumped to the ground. Cero screamed in agony as his arms were crushed like twigs. While standing over the android, Gohan summoned a tremendous ki blast in his palm and directed it at his opponent's face. I win. You can't use creation magic without using that weird hand sign, right? Gohan inquired as he continued to charge. How astute of you, Cero exclaimed. I win, Cero. The android sighed as Gohan announced. The android was released from Gohan's grip and stated, it appears so. However, I am just 2 years old. Give me time, and I'll exceed my existing limits. You know, Naruto is holding a tournament in a few years, Gohan said, holding his palm out while powering down, so we can have our rematch. As they helped Cero up, the two exchanged smiles as they heard his family members approaching. That was amazing, Gohan. Goku took his son in his arms and whirled him around in the air. Gohan chuckled as his father pushed him down, only for Goten to leap up and grip his big brother's neck. Goten yelled, "You have to train with me." With a neck-breaking hug, "Show me how to go purple." Gohan laughed when he saw his father's pleased grin. He then felt quite weak as he leaned forward and began to lose consciousness. Gohan passed out with a smile on his face, being held up by his younger brother. Goku grinned as Chi-Chi ran over, concerned about his wounds. Naruto came over and healed Gohan completely before remarking, "He's fine, just a little tired. Take a look at that smile. Brad is a genuine Saiyan from the inside out." Chi-Chi shook her head. "So much for my scholar idea. Geez, these boys are just like their father. Oh well, at least I won't let him be as dim as his father." "Well, Cero, this planet is yours now. Do whatever you want," Naruto said to Cero and Nero. "I won't stop you from creating your own species. I don't care what people do as long as they don't perform evil things." Cero nodded. "I think the first thing I'll do is give this world a proper moon." Cero then yelled, "Creatio," towards the two huge landmasses orbiting Mars. As a beam blasted from his fingertips, it collided with the two satellites and gradually fused the two astral bodies into a completely spherical moon. It wasn't as big as Earth's, but because of the lack of craters, the moon had an almost smooth surface with a ridiculously high luminance ratio. It was substantially brighter than the Earth's moon and just marginally brighter than Salada's moon, Luna. Because the moon encircling the Saiyan planet had an atmosphere and oceans, it shone brighter than any other moon in the solar system. "Ah, man, that was boring," a voice said as they were celebrating Gohan's victory. "The fight was spectacular, yet there was no genuine danger. Allow me to supply that for you." Everyone turned to see a purple-skinned, hooded person in the sky shout out, the voice young and full of cocky and youthful discontent. "Go, Majin Ozoto, I choose you." Naruto's eyes widened as he noticed a spatial distortion in the horizon. The purple-cloaked figure was surrounded by an atmosphere of awful and sickening energy. The key signature was so large that it notified everyone and everything in the universe who could sense the danger. The force emanating from the Z-Fighter's newest challenger was felt by the Kais, Supreme Kais, and even those in Hell. The hairs on their necks stood up as Naruto and Goku instantly powered up to Super Saiyan God Purple. The two Saiyans took their stance, ready to tackle the new menace. After the soul decided to be reborn as Naruto, the angel in charge of reincarnating heroes smiled and relaxed. "Hopefully my boss won't find out," the angel commented as he went about his work. After a few years, when Leon awoke as Naruto, the angel was summoned by his masters. He marched into the River of Souls headquarters, acting as if nothing was amiss. This, like King Yama's underworld, was where spirits went after death to be judged. If they performed good deeds, they would be rewarded. If they performed evil deeds, they would be banished to hell to have their souls cleansed before being reborn as the lowest form of being, depending on the number and severity of the soul's guilt. Some would have to reincarnate into other worlds and realities before their time was up in order to promote equilibrium. That was the angel's responsibility. Standing near a wide opening in the river, an image of a faceless head glowed with a pure and bright white light. "You have failed to tell us something, angel." What?" The angel's shoulders cringed. "Please spare us this routine. We are familiar with the one you sent to the Dragon Ball universe. He was not intended to die or be reborn in another universe. You screwed up." The enigmatic, monotonous voice rang out. "I'm going to lose my wings, aren't I?" The angel let out a sigh. "Yes, but that's another story. You sent a being with extensive knowledge of that universe, upsetting the big scales significantly. Not to add that, due to the world he was sent to, an opponent to his might will have to be born in order to maintain balance. You must assist in the creation of and offer this opponent the same advantage, giving him all known Earth knowledge of the Dragon Ball universe, making the entity chaotic in nature, and as the highest tier of Demon King species." "Can I keep my job?" the angel said, raising his hands. "Go, you insignificant pigeon," the voice screamed. "Good help is so hard to find these days," the faceless figure sighed as he rushed out of the River of Souls. "I miss being unemployed." Naruto has little knowledge of Majin Ozoto. He was aware that the Majin, like frost demons, demon lords, and Buu types, belonged to the devil species. But this Majin was too dissimilar to what he was used to. For one thing, his power was incredibly strong. For another, he looked nothing like the canon version. Like a monster with curled Hans horns. His figure was well proportioned, resembling Cell's perfect shape. His armor and face were the same as Majin Ozoto's, but he had 6 arms and 6 eyes on his face. To top it off, he had one massive eye in the center of his chest. Who? With a grimace on his face, Naruto muttered. Naruto's eyes widened as he learned the identity of the purple man who had been plotting behind his back the entire time, using ki to sense the person before him. The mystery man removed his hooded cloak when he realized the jig was up. Fu, the Demon King, appeared with a delighted look on his face. Hiya Geats, Fu yelled, a smirk on his face. You're, frowned Naruto. Ah, you don't have to look like that. Surely you suspected something, Fu grinned mockingly. Naruto reflected on the temporal differences. Undoubtedly, there were inconsistencies, but he believed that every major variation could be explained away by the modifications and decisions he made. Turtle's appearance on Earth and Cooler's discovery of the Tree of Might were both strange to him. He explained it away as being in a different universe from the main canon. However, the only one that didn't make sense to Naruto was the one involving Cell. It was you who gave Cero the Get AI chip? Fu clapped his hands and said, yep, you guessed correctly, though I must agree that the level of authority you have attained impresses me. Your easygoing lifestyle is starting to bore me. So I created this man by traveling to every known universe and absorbing himself. Fu then revealed the name of the being he brought with him. Now there is only one Majin Ozoto in the entire multiverse, he said, holding his palms out in a presenting way. I refer to him as Majin Ozoto Prime. Naruto, as a fellow fan, couldn't help but think, damn, that's a pretty cool name. Man, you have no idea how hard it was to find all these guys, but the power boost was worth it, Fu said. Naruto and the Z fighters began to perspire. He'd never experienced anything like Majin Ozoto's power before. The creature's ki seemed empty, devoid of happy emotions, and concentrated evil. Fu, on the other hand, was filled with wild energies throughout his entire body. It was like staring directly at a star that couldn't decide whether or not to blow up. The quantity of energy he extracted from the time distortions he caused was simply astounding. Naruto took a long breath and considered his life as Leon. His understanding of Fu was impressive. Naruto thought he was an interesting figure, and the modifications he made to the timeline were likely to catch Fu's eye. Naruto, on the other hand, had no idea Fu would amass such power. Anyhow, I brought this guy to play. He seemed to appreciate what you've done with this planet. Fu chuckled, his eyes gleaming like a Dragon Ball Z enthusiast watching a new episode. Majin Ozoto inhaled deeply and grinned. This world is lovely. If I take my time, I could absorb it for an eternity. He grumbled, I'm sorry, but this is my world, and I don't permit you to do such a thing. Wow, so this is what you look like after being augmented by the Get AI chip, Fu said abruptly in front of Cero. Cero's brow furrowed as he looked down at Fu, who was scrutinizing him as if he were a toy. So cool, but I'm a little upset about you turning into a good guy. Kill them all, Ozoto. Wait, said Naruto, his eyes widening. Majin Ozoto smiled and lifted his hand, but Naruto and Goku ran forward and hit him in the face. Ozoto chuckled and used his remaining hands to repel the two. As Fu jumped back into the stratosphere and sat down to watch the fight, shockwaves shook the earth. He then produced some popcorn from nowhere and began to unwind. Majin Ozoto Prime, Naruto and Goku were hurling everything. They used punches, kicks, ki blasts, and sneak assaults on Majin Ozoto. However, it was all for naught. Majin Ozoto grabbed their hands with his middle set of arms and began beating both Goku and Naruto. Majin Ozoto used his remaining limbs to punch and kick them until he pushed the two Saiyans tumbling through the world with a devil chi-powered finger blast. The strike resulted in huge explosions that sent big chunks of Mars into the atmosphere and burned the surrounding countryside. Naruto and Goku drew themselves up from the earth and flew back into the sky. Everyone immediately saw their condition. The two Saiyans' bodies were torn just as badly as their clothes, and blood spilled from every tear, abrasion, and cut. Naruto and Goku's breathing was labored, and their bodies were worn and shattered. Surviving the Majin's assault sapped most of their ki. Even in their Super Saiyan God purple forms, they couldn't stand up to Majin Ozoto's power. Naruto casts a complete healing spell on both Goku and himself. They felt their strength increase as a result of the Zenkai boost and gave Majin Ozoto a piercing glance. Kakarot, don't hold back, not against this one. Naruto charged up his Goku Times 100. I know Naruto, he intends to kill us all, and I don't think he'll let us run to train and come back. Goku used his Kaio-Zen Times 100 and turned to face Cero and the other warriors. We might need your assistance, we're going to hit him with everything we've got. If it isn't enough, we'll have to fuse, Naruto said to Goku. Majin Ozato's face was punched in the center by the Saiyan King. The force of the attack only pushed Ozoto back a few steps before Goku arrived above him and stomped on the Majin's head. Ozoto barely moved. Before Goku could finish, Ozoto seized his foot and slammed his head into Naruto's face with his body like a hammer. A powerful surge of wind rushed out from the hit, shattering the terrain as Goku and Naruto smashed into adjacent mountains. Naruto suddenly jumped out of the ground, fiercely rubbing his forehead as though in excruciating pain. "Arg! What in the world is your head made of, Kakarot? Adamantium?" Naruto yelled as he bounced around, attempting to relieve his discomfort. Goku flew out as well, wiping the top of his head, and said, "This again, Naruto? Your mind is just as tough. I'm seeing stars, Kami. Geez, even an amateur would be able to tell our skulls are roughly the same strength." Goku stated it smugly. "Did that hit make you stupid? Did I just get called an idiot by the manga's biggest space cadet?" Naruto's brow twitched as a vein developed on his forehead. "Whatever, Kakarot, just get back in the fight." Naruto took off in the direction of Ozoto, who was mocking them. Goku pursued his companion Saiyan, and the three began fighting once more. Naruto and Goku unleashed a barrage of punches that sent out millions of shockwaves that shook the universe. Ozoto laughed in response and easily avoided all of their punches. His smug look infuriated the two Saiyans even more. Naruto went all in, unleashing a powerful punch that might shatter a star. The Saiyan King went for Ozoto's chin, while Goku went in low with a leg kick. Ozoto chuckled and raised his hand, slamming the back of his fist into Naruto's face. Ozoto elevated his leg at the same instant, kicking Goku in the gut so hard that his tummy stretched out the other side. Ozoto then battered Goku and Naruto as if they were cannon fodder. Hundreds of punches, followed by hundreds of kicks and thousands of hits, crashed against the two Saiyans like comets, transforming them into a sack of broken bones. Naruto attempted to use his full strength. However, the minute he tried, the eye on Ozoto's forehead shone and absorbed all of Naruto's mana. Before he could respond, Ozoto pointed to Naruto's head and stated, "Weaklings." Before launching a powerful spinning beam, Goku swallowed the life energy that Mars was constantly creating, just as Naruto was ready to die. After healing his wounds, as soon as all plant life died, the plants resurrected, allowing Goku to remain in peak health. Goku instantly kicked Naruto aside, narrowly avoiding Ozoto's Majin beam strike. As Ozoto stood in front of the pure-hearted Saiyan, he hit him in the gut, sending the Saiyan soaring through the air and smashing into a neighboring mountain. While Naruto's frail body began to sink to the ground, he took a Senzu bean from his pocket and placed it in his mouth. Naruto soared again towards Ozoto after recovering and experiencing another Zenkai boost, only to be smacked away by his tail. Naruto screamed angrily. It was as though being slapped aside by Ozoto's tail was the ultimate insult to the Saiyan. "You dare slap this king's face with your tail?" Naruto's wrath fueled his strength as he clasped his fists together and yelled, "Kakarot." Goku laughed as he dragged himself out of the rubble and activated a Super Kamehameha. "Super!" They both exclaim at the same time, their energy surging to dizzying heights. Final. Naruto yelled, "Kameha." Goku yelled, "Flash." Naruto yelled, "Maha." Goku yelled. The two blasts collided with Ozoto. The Majin kept calm and only panicked at the last moment. Ozoto raised his fists and attempted to meet their attack without blinking. Goku twisted his arms just before the beams landed, forcing his Kamehameha to spiral, mimicking his son's technique. While Naruto unexpectedly combined his most powerful lightning spell, Jigodin, with his final flash, transforming it into a pure beam of plasma. The strength of the Saiyan strikes astounded Ozoto, causing him to strengthen his body as much as he could and brace himself for the worst. When the two explosions collided, they combined into a massive orb of destruction. Naruto and Goku were still pouring energy into their blows when Goku said, "What are you guys waiting for? He's not dead. Join us already." Naruto continued. Everyone, Goku's family, Naruto's family, Cero and his mate, Nero, and the Z fighters, used their best attacks. The combined blast radius quickly covered half of Mars, appearing to be the birthplace of a star. Everyone made a point of not holding back because they knew Mars' special talent would repair the harm. The key orb in the middle exploded suddenly, sending tremendous shockwaves throughout the Milky Way. Beerus and Whis, who were standing nearby, laughed as Whis commented, "Well, it is a Demon King-class being. Should we intervene, Lord Beerus?" "No, let them handle this," Beerus said, shaking his head. This time, I don't think I need to do any work. Besides, the program is only getting better. If things get too risky, Goku and Naruto can always fuse. Beerus grabbed the pizza box only to find it empty. Hey, I was going to eat that, Beerus exclaimed as he noticed Whis devouring the final piece. Odd, I didn't see your name on it, Whis giggled. You. Beerus began to clench his teeth. Ooh, Majin was able to survive? Whis swiftly changed the topic. Well, I must give him credit. Majins aren't dubbed primordial devils for no reason, but he's barely holding on, Beerus observed. The explosion from the attack ultimately subsided after about a half hour. Mars almost instantly mended itself, and at the epicenter of the explosion lay a burned-up, crusty Ozoto. Ozoto's skin had turned charcoal black, and his body had been fractured and twisted in various places. As the Majin coughed up what looked like an organ, pools of his blood poured to the ground like rain. Ozoto grumbled as he took a deep breath. He was absorbing the planet's life essence and quickly restoring himself. Everyone was astounded by how quickly he was healing his wounds. Naruto and the other Z fighters launched another attack, but it was too late. Ozoto was completely healed, and a vast and thick sphere of Devil Ki had formed around his body. Giga Slayer. Spikes emerged from the sphere's surface and blasted forth into millions of swirling lasers as he flung his palms out. Naruto grumbled, knowing he was too close to the attack to avoid it. They would have had more wiggle room if they were further away. The onslaught had the appearance of lines shooting out of a ball. The radius it covered grew larger as it got closer to Ozoto. He could only mitigate the damage in their current situation. Naruto was about to move when he became aware of the deadly Ki rays approaching his family's location. Naruto and Goku both hesitated when they learned Ozoto's intentions. Dirty fucker. Naruto cursed as he swiped his hands at the Z fighters instead of avoiding them with a zoom spell. The laser went through the Saiyan King's chest and punctured his heart due to his inability to move quickly enough. Simultaneously, Goku lifted his body and let the beam pass through his stomach. The Saiyan avoided death thanks to the life power that Goku was constantly collecting from Mars. Goku flew in and caught Naruto just as he was going to crash into the ground. Goku continued to absorb the life force from the planet to fully heal himself and his comrade while setting down on the earth a decent distance away, quickly throwing a senzu bean into Naruto's mouth. After eating a senzu bean, the enormous hole in Goku's gut healed, but when he looked at Naruto, he found that the hole through Naruto's stomach had healed. The heart was still present. As he clutched Naruto's lifeless and cold corpse in his hands, Goku sensed the return of the Z fighters and looked up to find everyone reappearing nearby. Naruto barely managed to relocate their corpses a few feet past the blast radius using his spatial skills. Everyone turned pale as they observed Naruto's condition. Piccolo let out a rage-filled howl and charged up a powerful special beam cannon in his Namekian god form, prompting Bulma to rush to his side. Trunks' eyes flashed with wrath, and a rush of blue god ki erupted around his body as he joined Piccolo's onslaught. When they saw their longtime comrade as a lifeless husk, the Z fighters' powers ignited and surpassed their prior boundaries. Everyone Naruto assisted, befriended, mentored, aided, or saved directed their most powerful assaults toward Majin Ozoto's skull. The beam pierced the shell around Majin's whole upper half, leaving only his hips and everything below. Naruto emerged from the afterlife and approached a familiar desk. When he met King Yema again, Naruto said, "I died." "Not yet, apparently," remarked King Yema, shaking his head. Bulma began conducting CPR when Goku placed his hand over Naruto's heart and gave him a blast of life energy from the planet. Once the hole in Naruto's heart was mended, Bulma began performing CPR. Everyone saw Majin Ozoto's recovery as well. Bit by bit, the lower half of his body began to absorb Mars' life force and began to restore the damage to his body. While everyone prepared to launch another attack on the Majin, Goku shattered another senzu bean with his ki and forced Naruto to consume it. Fu laughed and asked, "You guys think this is over?" Before the Z fighters could continue their attacks. "Do you think I'm going to let it go like that? No, it isn't large enough." "Hey, Cell, I've got a new snack for you." Before the Majin finished recovering, the old version of Perfect Cell arrived and flung his tail out to engulf Ozoto's body. Cell began to giggle as his body morphed into a new form. Spikes sprouted from his elbows, and his crown bent outward, turning into demonic horns, while a demon ball resembling Frieza replaced the top of his dome. His exoskeleton remained bug-like, but his markings vanished, and his entire body turned golden and crimson. "So this is ultimate power," Cell exclaimed as he gazed around in his new form. Goku scowled as he felt the infinite depths of ki coming from Cell. Cero frowned as he observed that his evil counterpart's golden red version didn't have the same stamina depletion as his own. Cell turned to Fu after absorbing Majin Ozoto and asked, "Shall I finish them?" "No, just leave one of your kids for them to play with," Fu said with a smile and a shake of his head. Cell chuckled and then made a Cell Jr. Cell smirked before saying, "This one should do," after using about a tenth of his strength to create him. Fu nodded and said, "All right, let's go back. We will conduct a tournament with them when the moment is right, and only then will you be able to go all out." "That's if they survive, my kid," Cell joked as he stepped into a gateway created by Fu. Goku frowned as he beheld the golden red Cell Jr. The powers of this duplicate were no joke. In comparison to the childlike figures of the canon's kid cells, this one resembled a teenaged version of the current Cell's looks. As it faced the remaining Z fighters, Cell Jr. flexed his muscles and smiled. "You killed my friend," Goku yelled, still not feeling Naruto's life force return. "Where in the hell do you think you're running?" Goku's thoughts were flooded with images of Naruto and their rivalry. When they first met, he saved his life, he returned his parents to his side, helped him reconnect with his lineage, became his best friend, and helped him become stronger than he ever imagined possible. While Cell's image was dissolving in the closing portal, he looked at Goku and smiled, saying, "He was weak, he deserved to die." His wrath exploded in his head like a bomb, causing his logic to cloud over and his power to skyrocket to insane proportions. "That form was..." Fu exclaimed as the doorway closed. Goku's power continued to expand at an alarming rate, and his hair began to grow longer, reaching the length of a Super Saiyan 3 and acquiring a green hue. The surge of energy led Goku's muscles to balloon to 6 feet in height. Goku roared out, looking like a giant monster, as his purple hair and fur turned emerald green. His body shone with a bright green power that ripped apart the skies. As tears streamed down Goku's cheek, his ki continued to develop at an abnormally rapid rate. This version of Goku had never lost anyone or witnessed the death of a close friend in person. Even though Krillin died when they were children, Goku was not present to witness it, so the impact was diminished. Goku knew the Dragon Balls had the power to resurrect Naruto, but the horror of watching such a close friend die right in front of him was too much for him to bear. Something inside the pure-hearted Saiyan was triggered by seeing Naruto perish and hearing his friend insulted. It shocked him to his core, and his reaction catapulted him to the next level. His body became stronger, and his emerald-colored god ki overflowed. With a violent blast of wind, the azure-green aura rushed into the sky, knocking everyone back. As he glared down at the perplexed Cell Jr., Goku's eyes were filled with fury. As he dashed towards the small android, the Saiyan's arm inflated slightly. Goku punched the upper half of Cell Jr.'s torso into 2 pieces before he could react. Cell Jr.'s body, on the other hand, recovered almost rapidly. It healed without any stamina drain because of a combination of its Namekian regeneration ability and Ozoto's world absorption ability. On top of that, Cell Jr.'s Saiyan DNA gave him a massive Zenkai boost, making him even stronger than before. Goku was unconcerned with the android's gains and instead blasted its body into pulp with another violent punch. The entire landscape around them vanished in a wave of destruction and was restored by Mars' healing mechanism. Cell Jr. simply chuckled as his physique got even stronger than before. Goku continued to beat the living crap out of Cell Jr. in his mindless and crazed state. However, by doing so, he was gradually strengthening his opponent to the point that it could fight back against the infuriated Goku. Bulma, who was weeping her eyes out, picked up Naruto's body. "Wake up, damn it," she said as tears flowed down her cheeks and into Naruto's face. "Nobody will be able to wish us back if we all perish. Get up. Please, please, please wake up." Bulma resumed CPR with a stream of tears flowing from her eyes. Gohan and Goten scowled. They knew Goku was acting abnormally, and if he didn't stop, Cell Jr. would be strong enough to kill them all. While Ranch was assisting the weaker members of the Z fighters, Trunks, Goten, and Gohan all agreed to fuse. Cell Jr. recognized them as soon as they began to perform the 3-person fusion dance method. As if the android was aware of what the kids were up to, he jumped over and dragged the remainder of the Z fighters into the midst of the chaos. Goku pursued Cell Jr. and began hurling powerful God Ki blasts at everyone. As a result, their initial fusion was a flop, and an aging, feeble Gotenk appeared. "Dang kids!" As he was easily blown away, the ancient Gotenk screamed. Fortunately, they also learned how to abort the fusion, which shortened the cool-down period before the technique could be employed again. The trio's collaboration. The warrior clasped his hands together and made the sign of two waves of water breaking apart. The Z fighters rushed in to buy the children time as the infuriated true Super Saiyan Green charged at them. Cero charged in and kicked Goku in the face, sending him flying off into the distance for a few moments. "Gra?" the android moaned. Cero stated, "I'm not your daddy," before avoiding Goku's assault and transforming into his platinum blue mode. "Snap out of it, Goku," Krillin exclaimed as he utilized Kaio-Zenken Times 400. Goku ignored him and attempted to attack before Krillin exclaimed, "Kakai." A second mark appeared on Krillin's skull as his concentration allowed him to narrowly avoid Goku's crude strikes. "Awaken, Goku. We require your assistance," Chi-Chi irried as she turned into a true Super Saiyan purple and tackled Krillin to the ground, nearly knocking his head off. Tien stepped in and utilized Krillin's Super Solar Flare to blind Cell Jr., while Raditz and Bardock morphed into true Super Saiyan God Purple and attempted to detain the android. Jine changed into a true Super Saiyan God Blue and joined them as a true Super Saiyan God Purple alongside Ranch. As she fought with her husband, Launch evolved into a true Super Saiyan God Red. They did everything they could to avoid harming Cell Jr. That, however, is easier said than done. Cell Jr.'s strength was unrivaled. He was easily dispatching all of the Z fighters. After scurrying through the chaotic battlefield, the Z fighters managed to keep Goku and Cell Jr. away from the children. They attempted to combine once more. However, a ray of light shot at Bulma and Naruto's bodies. Cell Jr. was definitely cruel. With no time to react, the lads again messed up their attempt to stop the assault with a ki blast. Fat Gotenks appeared as a retaliation, and the other Z fighters teamed together to knock out the remaining blasts. In the midst of the chaos, Naruto's eyes twitched. Bulma, on the other hand, didn't notice and continued to do CPR on him. Cell Jr. was getting agitated as the youngsters diffused the situation and stood by Bulma's side. He lobed over a gigantic ball of ki while launching tremendous melee assaults at the Z fighters. As the Z fighters stared over in horror, a massive boom boomed out. Only after the smoke cleared could Lapis and Lazuli be seen practicing the Aegis barrier method. "We'll protect your guys." As he boosted the energy output, Lapis stated. "Hurry up and finish that dance," Lazuli exclaimed. Cell Jr. attempted to stop the boys' fusion dance just as they were about to complete it. He may not have been able to destroy the barrier, but he is capable of shifting the ground beneath them. Cell Jr. attempted to move the earth beneath their feet with his telekinesis but was cut off by a hulked-out Goku. Green, the huge true Super Saiyan God, launched a powerful punch on the android, splattering his head across the ground and giving the three Saiyan children ample time to succeed. The three-person fusion emerged with a thunderous boom. Gotenks appeared from the light as his aura rushed into the sky. The ki he was producing abruptly blasted shockwaves of extreme ki across the cosmos, rattling everything in the cosmos. A.N. Gotenks is only Goten and Trunks. The E becomes A when Gohan enters the picture, hence the name Gotenks. The combined Saiyan's energy was outrageous, even in his base form. Cell Jr. came to a halt. The bug-like android was sensing trouble, but Goku was so enraged that he couldn't even detect Gotenks' birth. Junior Gotenks flew over just as Goku was ready to crush Cell Jr. again, blocking the strike with one hand and powering up a blast with the other. Goku hit Gotenks, sending the fused Saiyans flying into the distance and crashing into a couple of mountainsides before Gotenks could eliminate Cell Jr. Cell Jr. spotted an opportunity and teleported over to Naruto, attempting to absorb him. Bulma charged up as much as she could and tried to fight it off, demonstrating her mastery of her masted SS2 form, but it was too much for her to take. All of the Z fighters rushed to her side, but they were too slow. They were well aware that they would not make it in time. Bulma was seized by Cell Jr.'s grasps instead of throwing herself in front of the strike. Unable to stop it, the android's needle-like tail expanded open and began sucking Bulma up. Gotenks flew as fast as he could clear the debris, transforming into true Super Saiyan God Red in the process. He was seconds away from knocking Cell Jr. to the moon and saving Bulma when he was stopped by Goku. He elbowed the triple fusion into the ground and tossed him onto a nearby mountainside by the foot. Cero attempted to assist, but Titan Goku grabbed his head and gut-punched the android outside the stratosphere. The Z fighters attempted to divert their focus, but Goku shouted, causing his ki to expand and launch them all into the distance. Bulma cried for aid as her body was pushed deeper inside Cell Jr.'s. Lapis and Lazuli tried to assist, but Cell Jr. used telekinesis to keep the cyborgs in place. When Bulma got about halfway up the android's tail, she felt Naruto's hand wrap around her ankle. "What the hell do you think you're doing to my Bulma?" said Naruto, his tone venomous. Naruto's power soared. The Zenkai boost he received from dying briefly pushed his power level entirely off the charts. The Saiyan King instantly transformed. His hair got longer until it resembled Super Saiyan 3. His fur turned dark green, while his hair and eyes became emerald green. Naruto's physique then unexpectedly bulked up, elevating his height to around 6 feet while electricity crackled all around him. Naruto's aura burst over the earth with a vengeance-filled roar, causing tremendous quakes to rattle even in the afterlife. The azure-green aura extended into the heavens, threatening to overshadow the brightness of their own sun. After transforming, little crackles of azure-green energy flowed off his body like lightning. His hair resembled a shorter version of his Super Saiyan 3 form, except it didn't have the overly prominent forehead, and he still had his brows. Unlike Goku, who expanded to the size of a tank, Naruto grew to roughly 6 feet 1 inch in height and was just slightly more hefty than usual, akin to his Super Saiyan Grade 2 form but with a bit less muscle mass. Naruto quickly yanked Bulma out of Cell Jr.'s tail and ripped his tail in half with his other hand. Everyone was taken aback by Naruto's unexpected resurrection and transformation. The Saiyan King then raised his hands and whacked the android across the face so fast that Cell Jr. didn't even have time to think about evading, let alone detect the hand moving. The impact of Naruto's palm sent Cell Jr. flying back into the air before colliding into the huge and infuriated Goku's chest with a loud snap of flesh against flesh. Muscle. Unlike Naruto, Goku did not appear to fully access the genuine shape of this new form. The largest difference was that Naruto was just slightly shorter and had more compact muscles, whereas Goku was a full-fledged titan who stood 6 feet, 7 inches tall. Naruto grinned at his opponent and chuckled, saying, "Ha, Kakarot, I've got you again. You're still losing to that ferocious nature. Get up." Goku flew back in surprise after receiving a strong hit to the face. Naruto threw Cell Jr. to the ground and snapped his spine before he could react. Naruto then pursued Goku and placed him in a chokehold. Everyone used telepathy to call out to this moron and wake him up, Naruto yelled as he tightened his grip. Recover. The Z fighters all yelled, with Chi-Chi having the most impact as his eyes eventually started to pop out as Naruto appeared in front of him and slapped him on the side of the head. Goku's face went straight down and collided with the ground. As Goku lost consciousness and returned to his base form, the entire globe trembled. Naruto then returned to where he had left the Cell Jr., appearing in front of him with a burst of speed that caused the android to tremble. Cell Jr. launched a punch, but Naruto grabbed his hand and crushed it. Naruto then launched the 4-foot bug-like android into the atmosphere. Naruto could sense his power growing. The power of his new form was leaking out and being absorbed into base strength, steadily increasing his power level with each second. The Saiyan King retained the shape. Naruto returned to the fight with a smile on his face. Cell Jr. had just finished repairing the fractured spine and was going to rise up, but before he could respond, Naruto arrived behind him and began beating the snot out of him. Cell Jr. was unable to repair his wounds since he was too far away from the android's ability to absorb the planet's life power. With the android constantly regenerating through its Namekian genes and no life energy to regain his stamina, Cell Jr.'s combat was becoming increasingly difficult. Naruto reduced Cell Jr. into a mangled tangle of broken bones and missing limbs after a furious full frontal assault. The Saiyan King showed no mercy, continuing to savagely rain down attacks capable of shattering entire worlds. "Hurt my Bulma," Naruto yelled as his foot smacked into Cell Jr.'s stomach. "I'll fucking kill you." Naruto delivered a spinning kick to the side of Cell Jr.'s face, knocking the android to the ground. "I will eradicate your fucking soul." Naruto then raised his hands, forming a giant sphere of lightning in one palm and a sphere of fire in the other. "Final Big Bang Crash," Naruto said as he launched a tremendous original attack, throwing his fists together. As the huge beam rocketed off into the infinite vacuum, the space around Naruto began to shift. Cell Jr. was completely outmatched. Before it was entirely destroyed as space dust, its skin boiled away and its muscles melted into mush. Naruto took a deep breath and exclaimed, "Nobody ever, my Bulma is in pain." He then traveled to the afterlife in time to witness the soul of Cell Jr. being judged. "Did you think I was joking?" Naruto hissed as he extended his hand. King Yema nearly peed his pants when he heard Naruto shout, "Hakai." Before Naruto went back to Mars' atmosphere, Cell Jr.'s spirit disintegrated into dust. Naruto displayed a disgruntled grimace in the shape of his famed, perpetual scowl as he flew back down to the surface of Mars. He was still furious about what happened after he died, quote, unquote. Naruto placed his outstretched hand over Goku's defenseless and innocent sleeping face before slapping him awake and screaming, "Wake up, you damn clown." Goku leapt up, a puzzled expression on his face, and exclaimed, "Owie," with a painful yell. "What the hell, Naruto, couldn't you use a wake spell on me or something?" Goku wiped his reddened cheek, questioning his fellow Saiyan. "I could, but slapping you sounded more fun and, to be honest, a little therapeutic. Now explain yourself, you moron. What exactly happened here?" Naruto let out a sigh of relief. Despite his wrath, Goku retained his recollections of the events that occurred following Naruto's apparent death. It didn't take Naruto long to lose his cool. A tournament? Not to mention a trail of life and death. Good, good. If he wants to challenge me in that manner, he's already assured to lose. Naruto turned to Bulma just as he completed checking on everyone. He didn't have time to ask if she was okay before Bulma leapt into his arms and began crying. "Damn it, I thought I'd lost you. Never, ever do that to me again," Bulma yelled, beating her fists on his chest. Naruto hugged her in his arms and apologized, "I'm sorry I scared you." Bulma looked him in the eyes and murmured, "Promise," wiping her tears away. Naruto bowed and kissed her, earning a "blech" from the children watching. "I promise," Naruto said as he launched his zoom magic, teleporting everyone but the new android race back home. Bulma's suppressed emotions burst forth all at once, and they fled to the safety of their houses. She sobbed like a baby, causing Naruto to sigh as he rubbed her head and calmed her. He realized that Goku and he needed to get stronger. Fu was no ordinary foe. Even Goku and Vegeta are unable to entirely control him. The Saiyan warrior needed to improve his training in some way. Naruto escorted Bulma to their Earth room, where the two spent the entire night just hugging each other. Bulma appeared to be in a much better mood the next morning, and Naruto awoke to see her nuzzle her nose on his bare chest. "Good morning," Naruto grinned as he placed his arms around her. Bulma glanced at him, basking in the sensations of safety and security that only being on Earth could provide. Bulma leapt on Naruto and savored the sensation of their bodies merging, deciding to make the most of their time together. After a few hours of joking, they began to discuss various topics all day. Naruto was attempting to console his wife after her near-death experience by avoiding the subject as much as possible. Bulma relished their quiet time together. The two couples spent the entire day acting like the hopelessly in love couple that they were, with the Earthling grandparents on Earth babysitting the kids and the Saiyan grandparents handling the throne back on Salada. Naruto fell asleep feeling satisfied after rolling about in bed with Bulma that night. However, just before the Saiyan King awoke, his body and spirit were taken to another reality. It was in a time chamber similar to Kami's lookout, but quite different. There he met another reincarnator like himself, someone from his Earth or a similar Earth. The person he encountered was known as Mirushima, and the universe in which he chose to reincarnate was his own. Or, as we like to call it, the Naruto universe. Naruto listened to his explanation and discovered that he had evidently been summoned here by the use of a challenge token. They would have to fight if he wanted to return. If he won, he would be rewarded by the unknown deity of karma, who gave Kibo his powers. After exchanging information about their worlds and combat methods, the two sat down to dine, and Naruto was even given some gifts before the match. Naruto took the gifts, thinking he was buying favor with the Saiyan King, and was astonished to hear the human implore him not to hold back. After a fierce battle, Naruto did precisely what Kibo had warned him not to do. He held back, evidently too much, and the fight ended with his defeat. To see everything that occurred to Naruto, please read Reborn in the Narutoverse from the Narutoverse series. That little shit played me, and to think I was nice enough to go easy on him and fight on his level, Naruto exclaimed, grabbing his neck. True Super Saiyan God Red should have been enough to beat him even if I didn't go all out. Naruto was furious when he noticed that the wound to his neck had healed. There was, however, a small amount of blood on it. To be continued.
That's it for this podcast and for listening to this video. I hope it did enjoy the part of the story, and if it did, Like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for your support and have a great day.